Good evening. Welcome to Donky Talk. The young man that I have on the show tonight is just amazing to me. He's passionate, he's kind, he's heartfelt, and he is making a big difference in the Waterloo area. I'm really, really impressed and would like to introduce Jeremy Everett. Thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely.
We did another show, so if you want to see the other show, you can contact Public Access. But this will be our second show, and we're going to be discussing first about, I want to talk about the community of Burma, the rituals that they do. If you'd like to give us a minute.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest experiences that I've always had, and it's a wonderful thing, one of the rituals is regarding food. So I don't know if anyone's seen Anthony Bourdain and what he does, but I call it my Anthony Bourdain moments, where we prepare food together. So we shop together, we prepare the food together, and then we all eat it together. And it's basically everyone sits in a big circle, and it's a weird little plate thing. There's water in here, they cook the noodles in, and then a small platform for cooking the meat. And when someone puts the meat on or the noodles in, everyone it's a free-for-all. But while we do that, it's so much more about the individuals that are in the group, and it's communal, it's all together. Whereas in American culture, we have these, this is my food kind of situation where it's just, we don't share it. We don't have an experience like that.
So what do they actually heat it on the table? So they have like those flame things or whatever?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's just on the floor, and then there's a heating pad right up on top where they just we'll prepare pork or hot dogs or what have you, and then just put it in the middle, and then somebody over here will go and flip it for you, and but even if you put it on the plate, it doesn't mean that it's yours. It's just, everyone's just putting all the food in the middle, and then everyone's taking out when it's ready to go. And that's kind of
It's interesting.
Yeah, and what it's about is, from my experience, it's so much more about gratitude and a sense of peace and sense of calm, because a lot of immigrants and refugees have extraordinary experiences when it comes to lack of food, lack of resources, and to throw food away or to disrespect food in a certain way is seen as a huge disrespect. But when people come together and they share all the food in the middle, and it's insanely spicy and absolutely cannot handle it. They laugh at me every time because I'm like crying, and they're just like enjoying the food because
it's hot.
Oh, but it's so good. So I punish myself every once in a while. But that's what it's all about. It's a lot more about respecting the food, respecting the experience. It's not about having a meal. It's about having the people around you.
The moment.
Right, and it's a very individual moment kind of experience. It's not just like a fleeting, we're gonna grab food and then talk.
Now they do this for every meal.
Just about. So one thing is called mugata, and those are for kind of special occasions. Usually when it's some kids, let's say they finish school, the school year's over, and they want to have a big celebration, so we all go out and we'll get 30 different ingredients from the stores, and we all come together and we spend like 2 hours preparing it, just chopping things up, and it's all homemade, it's all natural.
Fresh.
It's all absolute, and a lot of it comes from the community garden too, that they work on through the summer. And then
real quick while you're talking about that, are there certain vegetables that we don't eat that they grow here?
Not necessarily. I mean, how they grow it is a little bit different, but for the most part, I mean, the kind of tropical mango and things like that, we don't have the soil for that, or, the climate for that.
Right.
But they do have at those grocery stores, they have everything that you could get in Thailand and Burma and Southeast Asia. I mean, they have it there. So wrapping things in banana leaves, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's like going to a shop in Thailand or going to a shop in Burma, but you're right there with your friends from Burma, and you're laughing and you're eating. And
so they eat a lot of rice?
Not a whole lot of rice. I mean, there's some rice, but a lot of noodles. And then
noodles, okay.
The noodles vary. There's various kinds, and how they prepare them are different. The different levels of spice, the different levels of what you combine it with. Sometimes they'll chop up a mango and then dip it in peppers, like chili peppers. And I'm thinking, like, just take an apple and dip it in a bowl of habaneros and then try eating it. That's a treat. And for me, it's like, yes, I have come to love it, absolutely love it. I never thought I would, but oh my gosh, it's amazing.
How can, you know, the thing about the hot stuff is when I eat something too hot, I can't even taste the flavor of the food.
There's some times where that happens.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You miss the moment of the flavor.
Right. Well, I mean, even at like weddings or what have you, they'll have, you know, families will come together, they'll pitch money together and make entire large coolers full of rice and noodles and meat, and it's a very communal organization. And I say that a lot because I really want to get that point across, where it's community. One person's success is seen as everyone's success, where they celebrate everybody's birthday of April together, or March, you know, what you have. But it's a lot of stuff that's done as a group.
What are their marriages like, their weddings?
It's same as a
pretty traditional.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a standard, you know, but the food is a little different, but it's a Christian marriage. I mean, they go to the church and they exchange the rings and yeah.
What other rituals would you say they have that are different than what our idea would be?
Oh my gosh, there's just a flood of information coming to me. But as far as rituals, there is a certain dancing. So in the United States, we just have some kinds of dancing. They don't mean much. But for these cultural dances, June 21st, 22nd, Korean National Day, you guys should go.
Okay, do you explain that real quick?
Okay, just a quick plug. Karenni National Day. Karenni is one of the ethnic groups from Burma. So they're not actually Burmese, they're a community from Burma. And they're having, from across the country and from across the world even, people are coming to Waterloo to celebrate Karenni culture. And there's going to be dances, sports, a whole bunch of different events happening all around Waterloo that Friday and Saturday. And one of those dances is the moves that they have, each one tells a story. It's like telling history, but with dancing. And different moves with the wrists and the hands. It's about harvesting. It's about, you know, feeding. It's incredible.
It has a meaning, every movement.
Every single movement does. And the partners, when they exchange sides, I mean, it's a very intentional and very deliberate culture where everything is done for a reason, and folks take pride in that. And it's not a sense of rigidity. It's not strict, you have to do it this way or else. It's just a matter of like, this is who we are and we love who we are.
So they're going to have food there too to try? Yeah. All kinds. Oh boy, that's going to be fun. You really need to check into this. June 21st and 22nd. It'll be at the soccer complex. And what was the other
5 Sullivan Brothers Center.
5 Sullivan Brothers. Oh, that'll be fun.
So Saturday evening, 5 Sullivan Brothers Center should be...
Is it a fundraiser of any kind?
No, it's just there should be at least 1,000 people there, in addition to the 2,000 people from Burma. I mean, so we're talking, you know, doubling the number of people from Burma in Waterloo over the weekend, and you'll see flags on the bridge, and you'll see the different kind of sub-ethnic groups. So there's not just Karenni, but there's Kaya, Kayo, and all of that. So
different
sub-ethnic groups. Yep.
Oh wow, well, that'll be fun. You have to let us know if you need some help with that.
We will be publicizing everything hopefully next week, but we have to get some stuff taken care of.
Well, you'll have to put that on my affirmative action too page.
Absolutely.
You have to come on and put that on so people can resource it. Black Hawk County Affirmative Action. You can go on that page, and I post what's going on down at the office here in Waterloo, and just different things that are happening with different political movements going on. Okay, what is some of the other things I want to talk about? I want to talk about them being in a refugee camp
Hmm.
before they came here. Tell us a little bit about
Yes.
that background.
So the average stay in a refugee camp for folks from Burma are between 5 and 10 years. I would say they average about 10 years. Some stay 15 years in a refugee camp. That's
And how did they get out?
the refugee camp.
Yeah.
They don't. They're not allowed to. So they stay in a confined area that's maybe a square mile, and there's maybe 100,000 of them. And when they come to the refugee camp, it's just a plot of land with fence around it and Thai guards around it. You're not allowed to leave the camp without explicit permission. So many folks just stay in that single area for.
So do married couples have their own little place, or is everybody put together?
People have their individual homes, but there's no. I mean, it's a family home, so there's no privacy. Bathing, it's to go to the river, and so for the young people that I work with, the young adults now, they have a lot of experiences where they would be like 9 years old and they would have to go take a bath in front of the entire village, essentially, or they would, or the different. I mean, there's no plumbing, there's no advanced.
No medical?
No. I mean, this is literally people from the jungle are living just in a spot of land that the Thai government has given them, and they have to make ends meet. Various nonprofits will distribute rations, and obviously it's not the very best. There's no formal education. There's very, very limited health care. One of my friends from Burma, he told me a story about he was climbing a tree, and then he fell, and the bone came through his leg. And the healthcare there was just hit it back in, and then that was it.
Wrap it.
They didn't have wrap.
They didn't even have anything to wrap it? Or
There's no
medicine?
casts or anything.
No medicine?
That's very limited. Some of the kids tell me about how they were born next to dead bodies because they only have one building for medical care, and if someone dies, they put them in this rack here, and then over here is a woman giving birth.
Oh my. So they stay there 10 to 15 years. How do they get out of there? I mean, what allows them to come here?
People think that the refugee resettlement process is like they apply as if they would a job and they get a call and all of a sudden it happens in 6 months. No, it takes 10 to 15 years to get refugee status because not only are you doing background checks, but you're doing there's, I think, 17 different agencies going through they take blood samples of every single person, including babies and children. It's such a process where it's excruciating in its detail and its background and its security to come to the United States or to go anywhere else. And so that's why it takes so long. People might think that, oh, they're refugees and that's why they're coming. Why are they all coming here? And it's like, that's not how it works. The largest people, a lot of folks might think, oh, the number one refugee population coming to the United States is from the Middle East. No, it's been Democratic Republic of Congo for the past couple of years. And before that, it was the community from Burma. And before that, I believe it was Bosnian. And people have these misconceptions because they watch what's on the news or they watch what's in pop culture and they assume that's what reality is. When truthfully, it's far different. I mean, folks for example, when they're told they've been accepted to come to the United States, they get 3 days on average. Just living their life, and all of a sudden, in 3 days, you're moving to America. And then they get basically a day or two of passports, IDs from the United Nations, and then maybe a couple hours of a 1990s video of what America is. And that video is essentially a lie. There's no English. One of my young people said, the only word I knew in English when I first came to the United States was elephant. And that's the only word that she would say for 6-7 months because that's what they learned. There's no transition process. It's, well,
no
today's Thursday,
at all.
And Sunday you're going to be in the United States of America. Good luck. And they have to repay the government for their flights. So when they come to the United States, it's not for free. They have to pay $2,000 in plane tickets to pay it all back.
Once I get here and get a job.
Yeah. Or if they get a job, either way, they say, you owe this by 6 months. And the resettlement process is you get 90 days of case management, if you're lucky, 90 days to find a job, a home, English classes, all of that. And after 90 days, you're done. Your services are canceled. And under this administration, it used to be, you know, between 80,000 refugees were settled, and now it's down to 35,000. And then of that, a vast majority, because of this ban, that it's not a ban, but it's a ban, folks in the most desperate situations in the world are being locked away in these refugee camps that, again, not sanitary, not safe. And it's not that it's not safe because the people are bad towards each other. It's just that it's physically unsafe. There's no medical care. There's no policing. There's no form of official government or care within the camp. It's just a field and guards around it. It's essentially a concentration camp until you're lucky enough to get your number drawn.
And we haven't really gone there and helped them at all.
The United States does contribute a lot to the United Nations. The United Nations administers the refugee programs. But again, when the United States, which is the #1 country for receiving refugees, cuts those numbers, it's not just math. It's not just science. It's not just a number. This person is not, you know, refugee number 147.
It's a human being.
Right, and we tend to dismiss that fact. When we say 35,000, oh, that's a lot. In a country like ours, with the wealth that we have and the power that we have,
we spend it more on war than we do about taking care of the people.
Ronald Reagan was the one who instituted the refugee resettlement program that we have active today. Now, if you want to talk about where Republicans were to where Republicans are now, one of their heroes would probably be center left at this point. But even in Iowa, Rob Ray, for the Vietnamese population, he opened the doors for Iowa and said, come on in. And Iowa grew exponentially. Economically, flourished. Because we had an influx of all these workers who would do all these jobs that actual Americans would not do. And I cannot stress this enough. Organizations, businesses, actively recruit from immigrant and refugee populations specifically because no one is applying to work at those jobs. The people who look and talk like me...
Percentage would you say that is?
The number of people who work at Tyson, for example, in Waterloo here, one of the largest employers of refugees and immigrants, man, I would say maybe probably 80%. I'm not exactly sure, but I know that the #1 employer for refugees and immigrants in Waterloo has been and always will be Tyson, because, and there's a waiting list. There's a massive waiting list that expands across several states of people who want to work at Tyson because it's decent paying, and Tyson does have some programs that help out the families. And but again, you know, these aren't fancy jobs in an office place. You're standing up the whole time, chopping up animals.
Yeah,
but they'll do it because they care about their families. No parent would risk their child's life coming across a new country. They do that for their kids. They do that for their kids. And I think, I think if we all stop for a minute, just turn off the TV, turn off the noise, and just stop and think, what would you do for your kid? Would you pick up and go to make sure that your kid has health care, has an education, has an opportunity for a job? Because none of those things are possible. So if it means waiting for 10 years in a refugee camp so that your child can have a future, those parents sacrifice their lives literally so that their kids can have a future that's much better than their own.
Tell me what you think about the border that Trump is talking about.
Democrats aren't for open borders. I'm not for open borders. It makes sense to have security. It makes sense to have rules and regulations. That makes sense. What doesn't make sense is to throw 20-foot-tall concrete poles and say, this is going to solve the problem, and walk away. When in reality, Donald Trump, in his 2 years of presidency, with Republican majority, has not built a single inch of that wall. The wall that's being built now was Obama-era information. That's when they started it. He hasn't done a single thing on it. Now,
but what did he do with all that money he's gotten? He's gotten the money, hasn't he?
He's getting funds, sure, but you know what he's doing is he's cutting soldiers' pay. My family is a veteran family. They're cutting soldier pay. They're cutting benefits for families. They're cutting housing stipends for families. And we already know that when you have a soldier overseas, when you have a soldier even in country, it's a family unit that you have to take care of, not just the soldier themselves. And you cut funding for housing, you've got asbestos, you've got lead, you've got all these other issues, and you want to cut that funding so you can build a wall that we all know will not work. What will work? Comprehensive immigration reform that has been talked about for over 10 years. You had Marco Rubio on the committee, the Committee of 8, who pushed this forward, and all of a sudden it's just garbage now. Why? Because they believe that the people who are most adamant on building a wall think it's going to work, and they don't want to dissuade their voters or what. I don't know what's going on.
Don't tell me he's going to try to run again.
All I know is that it takes 15 years. They say follow the rules, right? We're supposed to follow the rules. Okay, so seeking asylum is following the rules. People aren't coming across the border in camouflage and sneaking by. Some are, but a vast majority, and I'm talking a vast majority, find the first American they see, Customs Border Control, what have you. Please help. I need help. There's a story of a 2-year-old who was shot because his father wouldn't join a gang. So of course they picked up and they walked from Honduras to Mexico and Texas. And then the first thing that happens is family separation policy. The reason this man and this child left their country is not because they necessarily believe in the dream of America. What they believe in, or what they want and desire, is safety. Safety. And America has promised that to the entire world for centuries, for what, 200 years now?
Yeah.
That's been our founding documents, is we are independent, we are strong, and we will stand for freedom. At the same time, we're going to deny it for everybody else. And so when we say this young man and his 2-year-old, we're going to go ahead and separate them. We're going to put this guy over here. We're going to put this guy over here. Oh, and by the way, there's several hundred of these young people have been sexually abused in these facilities run by private prisons that are paid for by Donald Trump's money that he's stealing from veterans.
That man has karma.
So the wall is a metaphor for everything wrong with this policy and this idea that somehow people of color are less than. When in reality, in my mind, if you spend a weekend with them, if you spend an hour with them, you will know true strength. You will know what it means to truly be an American, because when they say the Pledge of Allegiance, they mean it. But with us, it's just ritual. It's just go ahead and do it, just like we did in 2nd grade. For them, tears in their eyes. First time they ever cried in their life? When they get citizenship, because they believe in the dream of America, and yet at the same time, the millions that voted for Trump, and will probably do so again, in my opinion, have lost sight of that dream.
They'd have to vote for him, that's for sure. I want you to talk about how people can get involved in the agency.
Yes.
You know, because I think there's a lot of people out here that would like to get involved.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to get the contact information out for one organization that I near and dear to my heart. It's called Embark, just Ethnic Minorities Burma Advocacy and Resource Center. They have offices in Des Moines and Waterloo. The Waterloo office is at 220 East 4th Street, and their phone number is 319-382-0954. Again, that's 319-382-0954. There's mentoring programs. There's basically, if you come in and say, how can I help, there will be a place for you. What we really need in Waterloo, I think, and what the community, from my experience working both from social work and as policy, is belonging. I think all humans feel they need to belong. And even though many people have American citizenship, they don't feel like they're Americans because they're pushed aside and they're ignored and they're marginalized, even though it's one of the proudest things that they've ever experienced. There's a place for you to get involved. You watching this, you hearing me, you can get involved. And it's very easy. It's not time consuming, costs nothing. But I can guarantee you, it will change your perspective on millions of people. It's changed my life.
Is there any other ones? One's in Bark, is that it, basically?
That's for the refugee community from Burma, which I have most experience in. There's also LULAC, which is the support for Latin American folks.
How do you spell that?
LULAC.
Okay, just like it sounds.
And they're very involved in the community. They just opened up a branch here in Waterloo, so I'm very proud that that's happening. A lot of good advocacy work going on there. But I think for the most part, there's opportunity out there. And if you don't mind, I can give my information out.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so my information, my name's Jeremy Everett. You can find me on Facebook, Jeremy Everett, or my phone number, 319-239-7040. You call me and I will do my best to hook you up with the agency or the population rather, that you want to work with. I will do my best to help you out because that's what we do.
That is awesome. This guy is awesome. I just love him. You are making such a difference. So is there anything you want to say? We're at the end of the show. Last comment you'd like to share?
Yeah. I think taking a minute to be in self-respect, just take a minute, stop, turn off the noise. Like I said, just take a minute and think, what would you do? What would you do? It's not people coming to your door taking your job or your money. It's not people harming you in any way. I think the best thing you can do, the best gift, is to show your humanity. Because the second you call someone a dog, you take away their humanity. And that gives you an excuse to be inhumane. But I know the city that I love the most, Waterloo, and the people in it have so much potential for growth, so much potential for a good, solid community, and I can't wait to see what happens. So please, please take advantage of the different opportunities out there to get involved and meet new people, say new words, eat new food. It's good. Some of it's spicy, but it's good.
Well, thanks. You just brought tears to my eyes. Oh my gosh. You're so passionate and so pure.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show, and thank you for watching Donky Talk. Jeremy Everett, thank you again.
Thank you.
Must be our plan. Unity must be our stand. Rebirthing new thoughts, questioning our